was causing through the use of slick propaganda like RT, the Kremlin's media arm. Donald Trump appoints one of his high-profile surrogates, Michael Flynn, to be his national security advisor. Michael Flynn has been paid by the Kremlin's propaganda outfit RT in the past, as well as another Russian entity. But the real damage they have done is they have damaged the relationship between our committee and the intelligence community. In the future, the intelligence community is going to be very wary about sharing information with us because they won't trust us to be responsible stewards of it. And sources of information are going to dry up. If you have a neighbor next door who's buying a lot of fertilizer and it seems odd to you because they don't have a yard, are you going to think twice before calling the FBI? Because if they get a search warrant for your neighbor and something is politicized, the political winds change, and there's an investigation, your identity is going to be revealed because you really can't trust that this is going to be kept confidential anymore. There's a reason why this process has never been used before. But even so, the process presumed that the President of the United States, who has a veto over this, would be a responsible person who would have the interests of the nation at heart. And of course, that's not what we have here.
Really? So instead of criticizing what's going on with the president, things that he said that they don't like, he's an irresponsible person. They have to impugn his character. Remember, the attack dogs on the left, that's their game. It's personal. It's localizing the target, freezing it, and then tearing it down personally instead of attacking the policies, because they know the American people support immigration controls and a sovereign border, a border that's not a sieve where any person can walk through. They know the American people support that, so they can't come out against that, so they have to attack the president's character. Whatever you think of who he is as a man, he's not irresponsible. He hasn't demonstrated any irresponsible behavior as president in policy, in things that he's signed into law, in actions that he's ordered our military to take. None of those things can be assailed. So, you know what time it is. It's time for Stacy on the Right here on American Family Radio and Urban Family Talk. We are so excited to be with you today. Have a jam-packed show. Call lines are open. You can call in and join us. It's 866-963-2037. We also have 3 guests today. We have Jesse Kelly of the Resurgent. He's going to be on with us. We have Demetrius Minor, who is now the coalition's director for Generation Opportunity, which is a part of Americans for Prosperity. So he's finally getting paid by the Koch brothers. Oh, so sweet. How sweet it is. I've never gotten a check from the Koch brothers, by the way. I've been accused of it, but I've never gotten one. And then we also have, second hour, Angela Morabito of standunited.org. So jam-packed show. So we just heard, this is Schiff. Now, he's a Democrat in leadership. He's got, a lot of really interesting things going on, Schiff does. Some of it, if I were a Democrat, I'd say he sounds like he's mentally ill. Yeah, I've said that before. I'm not a Democrat. But still, if it's about personal attacks, then you really have to wonder what's in his Cheerios or cornflakes or whatever he's eating in the morning, if it's grits or if it's oatmeal. Who's spiking that stuff to make him come out and say this kind of craziness? He actually went on Russian television, RT, and I'm not impugning RT in and of itself. Their offices are in D.C. and New York. I've been to their D.C. office. I have appeared on their network. So it is a legitimate news organization, except for the fact that it is also wholly owned by the Russian Federation, which is the government of Russia. So when you go on there, the people that you're talking to, the hosts, most of them are Americans. Most of the people who work in the office, from what it looked like to me, were Americans. They're running a legitimate news organization with reporters running around and doing what have you. So it's not exactly a horrible thing to go on there. I mean, I've been on Al Jazeera, for goodness sake. I have no room to talk if we're going to talk about, well, this is a place I would never go on. Yeah, I went on Al Jazeera once. I sure did. Went to the Lion's Den. It was heinous. The host was absolutely unprofessional. And then I decided, you know what, this isn't worth my time. So for Adam Schiff to go on the Kremlin-backed RT back in 2013 to discuss the need for more FISA transparency kind of flies in the face of what he just said there. So, I mean, YouTube is forever. People are going to look this stuff up and they're going to call you on it. So my recommendation to Schiff is just go through your own radio hits. You have staff. Have your staff pull up all the stuff that you've gone on and said, and then Reconcile it. And then when you go on TV and you contradict yourself, just say, back in 2013, I said X. Now I believe Y because I'm a Democrat, right? They switch all the time. So that brings us to Trey Gowdy, who is on the case when it comes to this FISA story. And he actually is on Fox News with Martha McCallum when he drops this nugget about who the Obama State Department was getting info from in this whole circle of doom. And remember, the circle of doom is they want to keep President Obama out of it, but they can't because President Obama was aware that this was going on. Hillary Clinton was paying for the dossier through the DNC. We now know that she was the DNC at this point. She was paying everybody. She was writing all the checks to everybody. It was a completely and wholly owned subsidiary of Clinton Inc. So they want this dossier. They want this information. And they're kind of going back and forth, which, again, calls into I've never given any credence to the dossier. And that's why I've never covered its contents on the air. But it's even worse than that because you have legitimate news organizations on the left treating the dossier like, the second issuance of the Bible. It's like they feel like this is something that is completely credible. But when you look at the sourcing on it, you see that you've got Christopher Steele, who is he used to be MI6, I believe. He was one of their operatives over in Great Britain. And now he's just some guy who does Oppo research for people. He uses his skills from the intelligence community to gather information and sell it to different political campaigns. So, okay, all right, everybody's got to make a living. But should someone like that be the only source that's utilized to gain a FISA authorization? I'm going to say no. But, who am I? I'm just a radio host. Let's listen to Trey Gowdy drop this nugget here on Martha McCallum's The Story. They did a special interview with him. It's number 2.
So Chairman Nunes, who you worked with on this memo, has suggested that there's a lot more to come and that the investigation continues. It looks like the next place that you all are looking at is the State Department during the Obama administration. We know that there was a criminal referral that was made by Senators Graham and Grassley. In it, it includes this. The foreign source gave information to an unnamed associate of Hillary and Bill Clinton, who then gave information to an unnamed official in the Obama State Department, who then gave the information to Steele. What do you know about that?
Everything that there is to know about it, and I've known about it for over a month. If you go and read the documents at the Department of Justice, you see it. I'm troubled by it. It is one reason I have tremendous respect for Michael Horowitz, who's the Inspector General of the Department of Justice. It's one reason that I reject the notion that the IG himself alone can investigate the Department of Justice, because there is a State Department component to this. It needs to be investigated. I don't view the investigation in terms of stages. To me, it's just one continuous investigation in pursuit of all relevant facts leading towards the truth. I'm pretty troubled by what I read in the documents with respect to the role the State Department played in the fall of 2016, with including information that was used in a court proceeding. I am troubled by it.
So weeks before the election, somebody in the Obama State Department was feeding information from a foreign source to Christopher Steele.
When you hear who the source, or one of the sources of that information is, you're going to think, oh my gosh, I've heard that name somewhere before. Where could it possibly have been?
Who could it have been? Who was it? So he went on a little bit further, and we didn't do the whole, because it's a lengthy interview. They're together for more than 10 minutes, I believe. And the most important portion of what he said is McCallum says, after he said that little bit there, McCallum says, Sidney Blumenthal? And Gowdy says, that'd be really warm. So you're warm. You're in the zone there. You're in the vicinity. Now, remember, Sidney Blumenthal has had a number of issues. First of all, that Barack Obama wouldn't allow him to be an official employee of the State Department under Hillary Clinton. She brought him in. She wanted him to be her employee. Then in addition to that, obviously, if you can't be a State Department employee, some of it has to do with your lack of ability to obtain and keep a security clearance. So that means if you can't be an employee How do you still get access to the information by being a consultant or outside advisor or something like that to a government employee? I'm pretty sure that's flouting the guidelines for security clearances, which are put there to safeguard information and keep it secure, not just for the security of the information itself, but for the security of the individuals who are named therein, namely our operatives around the world. So Sidney Blumenthal had information to secret, top secret, and Yankee White, whatever clearance Hillary Clinton had. He had access to that information because she used to fax it to him. How do we know that? Because she had an unsecure server. And as they continue to dump the information that they have been holding on to because they thought she was going to be the president, and now they have to let it out. As we get more and more of that information, we're finding out that she was a sweet little sharer when it came to classified documents. Not only did she not understand the markings and she couldn't keep it under control, but she would share it with Sidney Blumenthal. It seems to me like the first thing she would have said was, maybe you should go and work for us at the Clinton Foundation, where you won't have access to secret information, but we can pay you a pretty penny and you'll still be within Clinton Inc. You'll still be in our world. But if the president doesn't want you working at the State Department and, there's clearance issues, then I'm not going to be able to email you and get your thoughts and opinions on, what I should do with Iran or what I should respond to this or that. But that's not what she did. Again, if we're talking about someone who has a lapse in judgment, someone who is untrustworthy, someone who's not fit to lead, these are the behaviors of a person like that. She is the person who did these things, not Donald Trump. But I've yet to hear any Democrats say, all right, I liked Hillary, I voted for her, she was my girl, but on this email thing and the, securing of the classified information, she was just way out there. It was really irresponsible. And I can't go on supporting her for that. So I support her presidential aspirations. I support whatever, you can parse it out however you like. But in order to have some credibility, you have to admit that once someone's been told this person can't work here, then you go around that and say, well, he's just my advisor. And y'all get on the phone, all times of the day and night, whenever you feel like it, and discuss top secret type stuff that has to do with your job. You have violated your clearance. You have violated your clearance, and violating a clearance is a felony. Regular people go to jail for violating the parameters of who can and cannot see information. You can get court-martialed for accidentally emailing people, everyone in your email box. So every address in your email box, and you have a clearance, and everybody on that inside your email box, everyone has different levels of clearance. You take a document that you're cleared for, maybe you're at TS, so top secret. You have people in your email list, your address book, who are only cleared at S, which is secret, and you email something, just a memorandum, but it's top secret. You email everyone, you hit reply all, or you hit everyone instead of hitting just back to the person who sent it to you or just to the small group of individuals who are in the thread. You somehow manage to fat finger that, you can get court-martialed, lose your honorable discharge, and be eligible for prison time at your sentencing hearing. One instance can get a regular person thrown in jail. And the loss of your honorable discharge, which that's basically they're saying you're a felon for so you just mistakenly email someone who's not cleared to see the document. And when you're a regular person and you say, I'm sorry, it was just an accident, and the person said they didn't open the email because I called them up beforehand. I'm like, I accidentally emailed you something. Delete it. Or let me come over to your desk and watch you delete it without reading it. No good. The transmission occurred. You're going to jail. Hillary Clinton's going to go buy some more $12,000 jackets. But what? The president's irresponsible, you say? Miss me with that. Keep it moving. All right. We'll be back with more Stacy on the right after this.
words I just leave in my mouth floating up in the air. I've been told that I'm crazy, putting all of my faith into the arms of somebody else. Spend nights awake wondering if he stay.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. AFR.net, urbanfamilytalk.com/Stacy. That's where you can find the podcast of this program. And it's really good to be with you on Hump Day. Yeah, getting on through this week, trying to make sure we get all our steps in on our Fitbits. Who's a part of the Fitbit Nation? Are you walking 10,000 steps a day and the thing's reminding you you're only this many steps behind so-and-so? Is that your life? Because that's my life. Yeah. All right. So miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles later, here on the radio with you guys. All right. Let's welcome Jesse Kelly, contributor to the Resurgent, and Marine Corps combat veteran. Jesse, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me again, Stacy. How have you been?
Oh my goodness, I've been pretty good. Just trying to make head or tails or something in between of all of these FISA revelations and how the Democrats, they got to be hating it and gnashing their teeth that Hillary Clinton's emails are still in the news.
They don't seem to be able to escape it, and I think if they would have just embraced it when it came out, then there would have been nothing to dig up right now. You know, that's that thing. If you don't run, people don't chase. If they had just embraced it at the time, it wouldn't have been a problem. I think everyone was banking on her winning and all this stuff's kind of going away, and it didn't go away, and now it looks really, really bad. It looks terrible for them.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. And as someone who I understand when the Republicans have a problem, we tend to want to wait and see, okay, what is this really? We don't want to jump on them prematurely. And so I understand the Democrats wanting to wait and not jump prematurely, but we're way past premature. We're in the post, after, and they're still not acknowledging the new things. Like, so new developments today, Jesse. Apparently, there are other text messages between the two wannabe superheroes, Strzok and Page, who were trying to save America from Trump. Apparently, they've texted worse stuff than we've already read.
They look terrible. They look terrible. The FBI looks terrible. It looks more and more. Remember, right before the election, when all these things came out, Republicans were up in arms because it appeared that the FBI flat out decided they weren't going to pursue charges before they ever completed an investigation. And so it looked completely rigged. It looked like they were in the tank for it. A lot of people dismissed that, and now we get these text messages out today that pretty much looks exactly what happened. At least parts of the FBI they were never going to go after this thing, period. And that's awful. That's absolutely terrible.
It is. And there's also, so I know they're not all the same exact issue, but in my mind, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, these are all connected because at the time, you've got Hillary Clinton at the State Department, you've got the email problems going on, you've got the wide dissemination of classified information to unsecure areas, and you have Sidney Blumenthal kind of working with her undercover because he'd been told he couldn't be a part of the Obama administration. So you've got all that going on, which leads up to, these are all the precursor activities that lead up to her deciding we need some opposition research on Trump. They couldn't find any dirt, so they kind of made it up. And now we're getting to see how they did that. So these things are all connected because the nasty thread that goes through it all, Clinton.
Of course, aren't the Clintons the best bad guys you can remember in politics? I know this is terrible and we're not supposed to say it. I'm going to miss them when they're gone. Like every great story needs a great bad guy, and they are the worst. They are hopelessly corrupt. They're involved in everything. You name something scummy, the Clintons have done it, and they've mastered it. They're always there. And don't forget, this leads back to Obama, too. She sent Obama those messages. Obama said he never knew about it. Obama did know about it.
Oh, he did.
Obama said he wasn't updated on the FBI investigation. Now we find out today he very much was updated and requested to be updated on the FBI investigation. This goes all the way back to the big dog, too.
So you've got those guys, and then you have their supporters. So, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, these are big-time Obama supporters. They were also big supporters of Hillary Clinton. They could not see a universe in which Donald Trump would be duly elected president of the United States. And if that horrible eventuality were to occur, they would then kind of kick into FBI super agent mode and prevent him from tainting our democracy, because we're not a republic, we're a democracy. That's what Democrats call it. And so they were texting each other. And if it weren't so serious, like I've spent some time on the air, Jesse, laughing about these two, the texts, because it's like breathlessly they're texting each other. We're going to save the United States from Trump. We're going to, we have to have a contingency plan. And she's like, let's do it. And he's like, yeah. They're like, it's almost like a parody of FBI agents. Only these are two real, legitimate FBI agents who, if you ask me, we have evidence that they did wrong things while they were on duty.
In my opinion, this is just in my opinion, I understand everybody doesn't feel strongly about it, I think the FBI in any way getting involved in an election is one of the scariest things that could possibly happen. The federal law enforcement arm, or at least obviously parts of it, picking a side in a political election is, they throw around the term all the time, too much banana republic stuff. That is banana republic, state police, scary stuff. Now, obviously, this didn't rise to any of that horrific level, the things that happen around the world, but the hammer should be brought down on everybody who had anything to do with this, who had any knowledge of this and didn't say anything. That should never, ever, ever happen again. I don't care if they are Hillary supporters. To be a Hillary supporter and then try to tank Trump for it as part of the FBI investigation is frightening, extremely frightening.
Well, you're not the only one who feels that way. Yesterday, we spoke to Monica Crowley, and she has a lot of expertise and background in working for presidential administrations and former presidents. And she said this is the worst crisis we've ever had. And I agree, because if these people were bold enough to pull this on Donald Trump, who is a powerful American, he does have connections. He's someone that he's not easy to take down. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't some regular American who barely knows anything about email except that they sometimes use it on their phone. This is a powerful individual. And they were like, you know what? We're going to take him down. So if they'll take him on, why wouldn't they take me on? Why wouldn't they take on any other regular person? All the rest of us should be shaking in our boots.
You're right. They should. And the fact that he is president of the United States is probably one of the only reasons that this won't destroy him. This won't take him down. If this was you or I, if this is a normal Joe, and the FBI decides they're coming after you, and they're going to do it for political reasons, you're probably going down. And that is scary, extremely scary. And every American should be wary of that, of every political party.
And so now, here we are. What are the possibilities? And I know you don't have a crystal ball. You're not a future teller. You don't even promote yourself as that. But I do know you have your finger on the pulse. You're watching this story, and you have a military background. What do you see happening here? Because obviously, prosecuting Clinton means you get within like a hair's breadth of prosecuting Obama, and none of the leftists will stand for that. But does she ever see any kind of repercussion for what she's done here?
No. That's sad, and I think she deserves it. Like I said at the beginning, she's the worst. It's the worst as far as bad guys go. But she's never going to see it. And I actually think Trump will be part of that. As supportive as I am of so much of what Trump's done, I think it will, justified or not, appear to the public like Trump is using the FBI and the DOJ on his former political opponent if he chooses to pursue this, or if Sessions, I should say, chooses to pursue this. And I think because they'd be more scared of that perception than anything else. And so, no, I think a couple people will get slaps on the wrist. The two FBI agents, they'll get a couple slaps on the wrist. Maybe someone does a little jail time. And I bet you this all just ends up going away.
So who in Trump world gets to kind of be the fall guy for this? Do you see Sidney Blumenthal going down? I mean, there are some people who are in their orbit who do not enjoy the same protections that they have, who could theoretically go down, and then the Democrats would say, look, see, we prosecuted somebody for this. Somebody got punished. Who do you think that might be?
I would guess Blumenthal, but again, that's a dangerous game. If you're going to make him the guy, Well, that's a guy who knows where all the bodies are buried, so to speak. So he may decide he's gonna come out about a bunch of other people, and they may say even more things about Hillary that we don't know. And believe me, there's a ton we don't know. So if you're going to chase somebody's scalp, you better make sure that somebody can't roll over on a bunch of other people. And that, like I said, it's a dangerous game, and I bet you nobody ends up playing it, and this all just kind of fades away.
I almost feel like President Trump knew that, because right after he was elected, one of the first things he said out of his mouth publicly was that he wasn't going to go after Hillary Clinton. And a lot of people were upset about that on the right. I mean, they were like, wait a minute now, this isn't about going after her. It's about her getting punished for doing wrong things. Do you think this is his same thought process?
Yes. And that's part of why I guessed what I guessed, that he would just let it go away. And I have heard, I don't know this for a fact, but I have heard that is why he did that. That's why he didn't pursue it, because it looks like, to the general public, to the people who aren't politicos, who don't watch this stuff every day, it looks like the president's going after his political opponent. And that is a terrible look, and that is something the general public hates. The irony in this is the Democrats were going after the Republicans. Now, if the Republicans try to call them on it, then it looks terrible.
Okay, so now at this point, so we've got all this stuff going on. Do you see the president possibly implementing some new procedures, or because the FBI, in order to clean their reputation and come back from this, some people have to be let go from the FBI. Some punishment has to be leveled at people who work at the FBI. And then some new measures have to come into play to prevent this from happening again. Because I'm of the firm belief, Jesse, that what goes around comes around. That's a biblical concept, but it's also, there's a reason for that little slogan, what goes around comes around, because that's what happens. You put it out there, you do it to your opponent, and then later, when you're no longer top dog, they do it to you. This could happen with rogue agents in the FBI who would be supportive of President Trump and not wanting to see his successor come in and do literal harm, which is what the Democrats always do when they're in power. So how does the FBI clean this up?
I actually think it's something to do with the FISA process that really needs cleaned up, because that's the heart of this whole matter. Is they got a warrant that they should have never gotten. They got a warrant that the FBI apparently used from a political operative to get said warrant. So that tells me you got a real problem in the warrant process, too. I think you're right. I think some people in the FBI will be fired. Several of them will, air quotes, quit. But really, we have an issue with how we get warrants if the FBI can use that kind of information to get one.
So, all right, pure speculation here, but let's do it anyway. What do you think's happening with the judges on the FISA court right now who are watching all of this play out publicly? And they're behind closed doors. We don't know who they are. They're private. You know, they're secret on purpose. But what kind of conversations do you think they're having, finding out that they are approved and reauthorized like 3 or 4 times based on some Oppo research document that was basically made out of thin air?
I think that they're very likely not these corrupt judges, you know, we like to scarily imagine them to be. I think they're probably just normal guys, normal judges who screwed something up bad. And frankly, they're probably sitting in that room a bit nervous right now that it is going to come out exactly who did what, and the punishment's going to come down. Just like any of us that have a big screw up at work, and you're really, frankly, just hoping more than anything you don't get caught.
Yeah. You know, I don't actually think the FISA court judges are corrupt people. I tend to think the opposite. So if you think about how they go about getting someone to agree to be a FISA court judge, it's not like they just say, you're going to do it. No, they had to go out and find people who'd be willing to do it. People who are willing to put their professional careers on the line to do this job that is hugely unpopular with the American people. And really, it's not elected like other jobs they've done where they've been elected or appointed and they had, you know, the will of the people behind them. So I tend to think they're probably more of the penny pinching rule followers than your average judge would be. And this is a black eye for them. So I tend to think they're probably really embarrassed about it, but they don't have anything they can do publicly. And so, you know, they're probably looking at their procedures maybe. I don't know.
I tend to agree. Nobody came out of this looking great. Nobody. And we'd be naive to think they did. Hillary, Obama, Trump, FBI, DOJ, FISA judges, Nobody came out of this looking great. This is one of those ugly little scandal things where everyone kind of looks gross. Let's just get it all out in the air, find out what happens, and we can move on. It's the only way.
Mm. Well, I think one of the things we can do is obviously the sunlight is the best disinfectant. We have to stay on this story. We have to continue to every little bit expose it, because I'm looking right now in my email box. I've got an email from Newsbusters. Newsbusters is covering the fact that these new texts, which these two agents were trying to find evidence to impeach the president, and they were, briefing Comey on this stuff. So back when Comey was still in the Trump administration, and this is all going on, and the nets aren't covering it. The leftist mainstream media, they're still letting Ana Navarro yell every guest down on CNN, but no coverage of this.
And there won't be, because it makes them look terrible. When I said everyone looks bad, everyone doesn't look equally bad. The left set out as soon as Trump was elected, and apparently these FBI guys were part of it, Russian collusion, Russian this, Russia that, and all this insane Russia stuff, and they thought they had one here. Well, really, they opened up the door that they should not have opened up, because it ended up looking really, really bad for the last administration. It ended up looking really bad. Yeah. And so now, you mentioned Ana Navarro, all these talking heads, they have no choice but to shout and ignore, because the truth of the matter is this is terrible for them. It really, really looks terrible.
Jesse Kelly, Marine Corps combat veteran and contributor to the Resurgent. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you, Stacy.
All right. Talk soon. We'll be back. We'll be back with more. I hear the music. Stay right there.
I face a giant in over my head. Help me to look up.
Hello, welcome back to the show. StacyOnTheRight.com is where you can subscribe for our weekly newsletter experience, which means you get one newsletter on Sunday afternoons instead of getting notifications every time I make a post, or every morning at like 4 a.m. when there's a new post. There are different ways of doing that. And we have an unsubscribe button that people can hit if they change their mind after they've seen the newsletter. Unlike some organizations that force you to receive their emails even after you ask, can you stop? Like, some people. I won't name any names. Maybe I will. Maybe I will start calling people out when they keep emailing me when I've asked them to stop. Anyway, the call lines are open if you want to join us, 866-963-2037. And I also want to point you over to afr.net, where you can see the Stand blog and you can learn more. I believe there's some kind of website update that's been done over there, because I was on there this morning and it's looking kind of smooth and slick and pretty. So you might want to go check that out. Also, don't forget to go to nationalcenter.org. I'm the co-chair of Project 21, which we have something amazing in the works that we're going to be rolling out later on this year. And I'm hoping that it's going to be an effective tool for us to get good policy, good public policy out there in the public. So these are things that have to be legislated. They have to be passed. We have to get the Trump administration to adopt these ideas about marriage and family and work and K through 12 education and higher education and a host of topics that we've been working on. We've really had our shoulders down and our heads down working hard on this. So when it comes out, we're going to be rolling it out here on the Stacy on the Right show. We're going to be doing a lot of press and media on it, and I'm so excited to be able to share it with you. But right now we're in the final polishing stages, and I just want to kind of alert you, ears up. It's going to be some good stuff, and I'm really happy to have been a part of working on that. So yeah, you can call into the show, 866-963-2037. Those are the call lines. They're open for you, the listeners. And right now I want to listen to Ken Cuccinelli. So let me set this up for you. Ken Cuccinelli is an elected official. He's been invited onto CNN to on the Don Lemon program, Don Lemon Tonight, and they're having a discussion which centers around the president's plan to have Congress pass legislation to either legalize the DACA recipients or end the executive order that gave them legal status. So there's a lot of argument on the left and the right as to whether or not that was an extrajudicial action that the president took. The Supreme Court didn't rule on DACA, but they did rule on other actions the president took regarding immigration. He's been smacked down, President Obama, many, many, many times, which is not the case for President Trump. It's interesting. President Trump, for all of the mischaracterizations of the actions that he's taken, President Trump has actually not been smacked down by the Supreme Court on his so-called Muslim ban, which was just really an extension or reiteration of something that President Obama did, and so many other things. The Supreme Court has come back and said it is within the president's purview to make these decisions. So you've got this panel on Don Lemon, and suffice it to say, the only person I need to announce who's on the panel besides Don Lemon and Ken Cuccinelli is Ana Navarro. Now, I know she and I are different politically. We have very different beliefs on what it means to be a Republican. She calls herself a Republican. I'm not sure what part of the Republican Party platform she claims to be on. But, you know, that is her right to claim whatever she'd like. She constantly mischaracterizes what Republicans believe about immigration. She constantly says things about President Trump that she cannot know to be true, because as far as I know, she's never actually met him. They've never sat down and had an expansive interview or discussion about immigration or his so-called xenophobia, or, as she says, his racism against immigrants, which the president hasn't actually ever said anything about legal immigration. He has said he has a problem with illegal immigration, which coincidentally, 85% of Americans share that view. So we're talking about legal immigrants, people of all races, socioeconomic backgrounds, religious affiliations, people who live all over the country. This is a bipartisan, so nonpartisan, right and wrong, lawbreaker versus law abider issue. So they're having this discussion, and you're going to hear a lot of over talking. So apparently on CNN, when someone is over talking, if you're over talking Ana Navarro, or if she's over talking you, only one person needs to be quiet, and that's any person whose name is not Ana Navarro. So she gets to kind of filibustering and going on and on and on. And if you're listening, you'll have to listen pretty closely. And this is a pretty short clip because I didn't want to subject you to too much of them talking over each other. It's impossible to hear what they're saying. But you'll hear Ken Cuccinelli say that he's sick and tired of listening to her shrill voice. Now, he's frustrated. He's been invited on, and he's on the show. And according to him, in his estimation, it's 3 against 1. Now, I know what that feels like. Although Don Lemon is the host and he's not supposed to be on one side or the other, he normally does kind of call things for the leftist guests so that they get to have more time to speak. So you're sitting there listening for an inordinately long amount of time. And then when it's your turn to speak, someone cuts you off like Ana Navarro does here. I'm playing this.
People who care, the people who care.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
People who care, the people who care are immigrants who are
going to get amnesty.
No, I'll tell you who cares. Let me tell you who cares, Ken. Let me explain to you who cares.
Quick.
Can I answer your damn question about who cares? The people who care are the immigrants who are sick and tired of having this White House attack us and bash us on a daily basis.
I'm sick and tired of listening to your shrill voice in my ears.
The people who are maligned on a daily basis by the President of the United States and the people who work for him. The people who see day after day that this president and this White House only focus on the bad things that immigrants do, but can never highlight a positive contribution by an immigrant.
Okay, so first of all, is it just the bad things, or is it that people are getting killed? So I just wonder what would Ana Navarro's position be if, instead of it always being someone who's outside the beltway, someone who they don't care about, someone who doesn't matter to them, because this latest story about this football player who he's black, and coincidentally, he had some really rockin', like those look like brother locks, or I don't know what they were, but those were some awesome dreads he was sporting. He's killed by a drunk driver who happens to be a multiple deportee illegal alien. Notice that CNN is not trumpeting that. MSNBC, NBC, the Today Show, they are not running these beautiful pieces where, you know, you have slide after slide after slide, picture after picture after picture, all of the different stories, interviews with his family members, people talking about what a wonderful person he was, what an amazing life was just snuffed out, all the potential. Look at all the plans he had. No, they've just got one interview with his roommate where he says he wouldn't have cared that the person who killed him was here illegally. How do you know? You were his roommate, but did you actually share the same mind? Like, did you have the same actual mind? I know sometimes I'll say on the show, oh, we have a unimind, or we're of the same mind. But that is that's not a real thing. That just means it's an analogy to illustrate that two people are simpatico on a particular thought. That's all that is. There is no unimind. There is no one person has passed away, the other person's still alive, and they have the mind of the person who's passed away. That is not a thing. So I actually don't care what the roommate thinks about what the man who's been killed prematurely would have felt about whether or not the person was an illegal alien or not. First of all, I mean, how dare you? So you're saying it's okay that he was killed? No. Just stop. Just stop it. Okay? Not making sense on that issue. So stop acting like you know what he would have thought. He probably thought he wasn't going to be killed. That's what I would say. Oh, he probably didn't think he was going to be killed at all. He didn't think he was going to die by some illegal alien running him down like a dog, drunk driving, someone who's here illegally. Who thinks that? Well, if I get killed by a drunk driver, I certainly am not going to care if that person's an illegal alien. Please. Nobody thinks that. No one sits around thinking like that. No one lays around at night in their dorm room eating pizza or sushi or tacos and watching Netflix and, just chilling out and maybe doing a little homework and then says, if I'm ever killed accidentally, I certainly won't care if the person who does the killing is an illegal alien. So we know that's not the case. But I don't hear Ana Navarro expressing any sadness over the loss of American lives due to these illegal aliens. All I hear her doing is equivocating. She takes people who spent 50 grand or more and 10, 15 years of their lives to become American citizens, people who appreciate this country as she seems to do. She seems to be happy to be an American, happy to be the child of immigrants, whichever of those two she is. Yeah, people like that are not the same as people who are multiple deportees. Like, so just here's a good example for you. Over at the WashingtonTimes.com, they have a story up about this guy who is here illegally. Now, this is not the man who ran down the football player in Indiana. This is not the same person. But this guy is an illegal alien. Now, let me share this with you because you're going to probably think to yourself, I don't actually believe that. So I'll put the link up on Twitter and Stacy on the right so you can read it for yourself. But just allow yourself to receive this info, and it's bad. This illegal immigrant, you can't be an immigrant and be illegal. The word immigrant means legally entering a country using the laws of that country. So this illegal alien was deported 44 times. He was deported more times than a lot of Americans have even been alive. So 44 times over the span of 15 years. He's the world's most persistent illegal immigrant, which is why the president wants to make it a felony to re-enter after deportation, which then would require you to go to jail, which would prevent you from leaving and coming back in. Do you see how that works? Right now, you can leave and come back over and over and over again, and it's not a felony, which means there's no real prosecution. So he managed to sneak back across the border 44 times. Now, he's not the only one. The runner-up, because now they have a list out. The runner-up was ousted 40 times in a 15-year period from 2001 to 2015, so 14-year period. Number 3, 4, and 5 on the list were deported 35, 34, and 31 times. According to data provided to the Washington Times by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So these are the most extreme cases, but there are multiple deportees, repeat illegal aliens, like the one who killed Kate Steinle, 5 times deported. And the liberals didn't care about her either. Notice they only care about you if you're in the commission of a crime and you get killed. But if you're just walking down the street, la-di-da, then by all means, if you get killed, well, that just happens. An American could have killed you, so no big deal. So President Trump tweeted about the disgraceful death, called the killing one of many such preventable tragedies, which is utterly true. Senator John Cornyn of Texas, one of the Republicans' chief negotiators in the current immigration debate, said the fatal crash should be a wake-up call. Mr. Cornyn said people are dying as a result of criminals taking advantage of the porous nature of the border, and we need to stop it. A lot of that has to do with improving our border security, and it's not just about barriers, it's about technology. It's about personnel and creating the systems that are necessary to stop more of that. So the list of heinous crimes that are attributed to the repeat illegal aliens is long. The most notorious, obviously I just mentioned it, Kate Steinle's killing by Jose Inez Garcia Zarate. He'd been deported 5 times, which Kate's law was the result of that. Legislators trying to tighten up the rules on that. And the penalties on repeat illegal immigrants who are caught after deportation, they would face 2 years in prison. A third attempt would be 10 years. Repeat illegal aliens with serious criminal convictions would face up to 25 years. So Kate's law cleared the House last year with the support from 24 Democrats, but the Senate has not taken action. Now you've got Bob Goodlatte, and you'll remember we went over Goodlatte's response. He's offered another piece of legislation to shore up our immigration system. And I like the president's proposal. I like Goodlatte's proposal. I don't like the Gang of Six. We went over this on the show. You'll have to go back through the podcast at urbanfamilytalk/Stacy, urbanfamilytalk.com/Stacy. You can look at the headings on there and you'll see we went over this. I believe it was the week before last when we went over this. So the different proposals and the differences between the three. So Goodlatte is calling for Kate's law to be a part of the immigration debate involving illegal immigrant dreamers and border security. He's right. His plan also includes the Davis-Oliver Act, which would require localities to cooperate with deportation efforts, pushing back against the growing number of sanctuaries, quote unquote, that are protecting illegal immigrants. So yeah, 5 years in jail would be a good deterrent for people who just can't get enough of America. They just got to get back in and get a little bit more and then kill a few people while they're here. I think Ana Navarro probably has a heart that's in the right place, but she is utterly wrong on her continual support of lawbreakers. She makes people who believe the things that she believes look bad. She makes herself look bad, cursing on CNN, and she's obscuring the issue here. And it doesn't work. All right, we'll be back with hour 2 right after this. Stay here for more Stacy on the Right on Urban Family Talk and American Family Radio.
Urban Family Talk.
Hey, I'm Miki, co-host of Aaron the Addisons on Urban Family Talk. I want to invite you to be part of our online chat community we've affectionately called The Churbin. While you listen to your favorite programs, you have the opportunity to communicate in real time with the hosts of those programs.
Welcome to Stacy on the Right with your host, Stacy Washington.
What happened to that Indianapolis player was preventable. He tweeted that out.
Oh, yeah.
And then he was also joking about how if they don't get a deal with the Democrats regarding DACA, maybe they should shut the government down. But there was an exchange. We want you to listen to this, and the folks at home as well. Listen to the chat between somebody at the White House and Brooke Baldwin over on CNN and see if they agree with what they are saying in this passage.
Every immigrant in this country isn't a killer and a thug and a thief, and he's kind of equated all immigrants, put them in that status, when actually the crime rates in the immigrant communities are much smaller than in the larger communities.
Listen, I don't know what the president's thinking, but I do know that, he keeps tweeting about, we were just telling the story about this Indianapolis Colt player, and maybe in that case, but certainly you're right. People are here for all kinds of incredibly valid and patriotic reasons.
Okay, so there you've got the commentator talking about how every immigrant in the country isn't a killer, but then you've got her saying people are here for all kind of incredibly valid and patriotic reasons. I don't get that part.
Oh, I do. It's easy. CNN is trying to raise their ratings. They need illegal immigrants to watch their ratings to get their ratings back up, so that's why they're calling them patriotic.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Stacy Washington, host of Stacy on the Right. Call lines are open at 866-963-2037. And what you just heard there was our good friend here on the show, Wayne Dupree, on Fox and Friends this morning, talking about the fact that, in his opinion, CNN needs illegal immigrants for their ratings. Now, I don't know if that's the case. But it was a good soundbite, and it certainly got him some attention. I found it over on Mediaite, so he made Mediaite today for saying that. Of course, they weren't happy with it, but they still put it up. And so the discussion they're having is how, leftists they're grasping at straws to try to find ways to justify illegal immigration. There are incredibly valid and patriotic reasons to be here and wave the Mexican flag. Incredibly valid and patriotic reasons to be here and impugn American citizens, steal jobs from Americans, drive drunk, kill people, be a part of the drug trade, the illegal drug operation in the United States, which drives our murder rate. Those are incredibly valid, patriotic reasons. Think again. I don't agree. Who does? Who agrees with that? So he wasn't done. Wayne Dupree was continuing to talk to the hosts of Fox and Friends there at Fox. And he had a couple of other things to opine about this whole discussion between the way the left discusses it and the way it's being discussed by others in the moderate arena and then on the right. It's number 4.
Listen, I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know whether it's wacky tobacco or Latin lettuce that's is in the break rooms or whatnot. But the American people right now, we want our politicians to enforce the laws. Now, I know that a whole lot of mainstream media have problems with saying illegal immigrants. They don't want to say it. They don't want to say illegal immigrants. And it's almost like they have problems with truth and illegal. They don't want to put those two together. But listen, we don't have any problem with patriotic immigrants. We don't have any problem with that. You come into this country, you go through the process, and then you stand up at the end and you say the Pledge of Allegiance. Then we know that you want to make a perfect citizen to help the United States of America. These illegal immigrants aren't doing that. They don't have any allegiance to this country. They don't care about this country, and that's why they can go out drinking and run over a rising NFL star. Americans should be angry at this right now.
Well,
I mean, totally angry at this.
David Axelrod tweets out that basically the president's exploiting his death to move his immigration plan forward.
Yeah, okay. That's what a whole lot of these mainstream media people do too. They exploit the illegal immigrants, calling them patriots. I mean, they're not patriots.
Yeah, so what is a patriot? A patriot would be someone who is serving this country, giving their life for this country. And as I understand it, there are some DACA recipients who have gone on to served this country, people who have served and they've become legal citizens and then they've served this country in that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. And those individual people would be patriots. But to simply say the act of coming here illegally makes you a patriot flies in the face of what we know about patriotism. Patriotism does not involve breaking the law. So, I mean, your feelings aside, it just doesn't. Sorry, thanks, no. And next up, really appreciate you. No. So I'm interested in more substantial discussions about this. I'm not interested in the whole, what we see now, what we're understanding to be the new mantra from the left, which is simply illegal immigration is not illegal. That's basically what they're telling us. And so, they have cornered the market on trying to legalize breaking the law. And it's not going to work because most Americans go to and from work every day, very, very aware of what they are allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And it is not fair to flout the law or to act as if it doesn't matter. There's laws for a reason, and we deserve to have our laws respected by everyone. So there's a whole lot going on Twitter. Apparently, there's a ton of new information out on the budget deal. So apparently, they've reached a deal on the budget. Now, the first thing I'm looking for as a host here on American Family Radio and Urban Family Talk is we're calling for here on this network, both networks, for the defunding of Planned Parenthood. And so let's see what they've reached. The budget deal has been reached. The agreement would raise stiff spending caps and help stave off a shutdown, because that's all we have to do, right? We're not really looking to fund the government responsibly. We just need to avoid the next shutdown. This is a false, scary thing that they're putting up where they stand up this boogeyman and it's the government shutdown. And so in order to avoid the government shutdown, we just need a continuing resolution. Even Mattis has come out against this. We've got to get past this. The responsible thing to do is to come up with a budget, everybody to give and take a little bit and to get it done. The Republicans are in charge. They need to be the leaders on this. And the Democrats need to come along. Negotiate, sure. Horse trade. Oh, you betcha. But don't act as if this is something that they're in control of. They're not. They're not in the majority. So they've clinched, a 2-year deal to lift strict budget caps on defense and domestic spending, put an end to a series of short-term spending bills, and shut down fights that have defined Washington for the past few months. So I'm not even going to go into the details about the increase in the spending caps. There's a quote from Leader McConnell. The budget deal doesn't have everything the Democrats want, doesn't have everything the Republicans want, but it's a great deal of what the American people want, and that's Chuck Schumer. Well, that means that Planned Parenthood is funded then, because there's no way they would have gotten to this deal if it had been defunded. Chuck Schumer wouldn't even approach the microphone except to spit curse words. So they're excited about the defense numbers, the defense boost, if you will. It increases defense spending this year by $80 billion, domestic spending by $63 billion beyond the strict budget caps. A plan to lift the debt limit, which requires action in the coming weeks, is possibly going to be attached to this deal. And that's according to the senator from my state, Senator Roy Blunt. He says the debt ceiling is likely to be suspended through next March in tandem with the budget deal. Pump the brakes, y'all. It looks like we're going to go on a drunken spending spree. In order for such a large package to be passed before funding expires, all 100 senators will need to agree to speedy action on the spending bill and budget package. Senator Rand Paul, who opposes the deal, said he hadn't decided whether he would deny a swift vote and potentially cause a government shutdown. And John Kennedy, who's a senator Republican from Louisiana, said he's got mixed feelings. This has been a hard-fought negotiation. Our leadership worked really hard. It's obviously not our leadership's first preference. So I'm scanning down. Where's my information on what they're doing about immigration? I guess the Democrats have lost on that one. Pelosi is facing pressure from some of her rank and file members as well as progressive groups to reject a budget caps agreement unless Trump and the Republicans agree to a legislative fix for the Dreamers. She implored Ryan on the House floor today to let Congress work its will. What are you afraid of? And so she's saying she's not going to support this package unless there's a commitment from Speaker Ryan that is similar to the one from Leader McConnell. Ryan has said he would bring up a Dreamer deal if Trump signs off on it. He's been very clear on it. They'll take the deal that the president supports. And so there's a lot of kind of minutia here. Nothing about defunding Planned Parenthood. So I don't know if they've given up on it. I don't know. Like what is going on here? Why has it not been brought back up? Maybe there's some other strategy at hand here that I don't understand. I don't know. I'm perplexed. Clearly, I can barely talk. I'm perplexed that this is where we are, and we don't have any defunding of Planned Parenthood. So there'll be more to come on that. More to come. So let's get into this. Now the Daily Mail. So the UK Daily Mail is covering this bit about the text between the FBI lovers, Strzok and Page. So Lisa Page wrote to her lover, Peter Strzok, that President Obama wants to know everything we're doing. President Obama had said he could guarantee he wouldn't interfere and there would be no political influence in the FBI investigation. And these September 2nd, 2016 text messages are among more than 50,000 texts the pair sent during their 2-year extramarital affair. So I'm really, it's like it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I don't know if you've noticed that instead of going away or instead of things getting smaller, like I saw a lot of talk online from the left saying, well, what we're going to do is now that we've gotten this memo out of the way, now we're going to get back to the collusion case against President Trump. We're going to get back to the Russia investigation. We're not talking about that. Now we're talking about new texts from Strzok and Page. So I'm, scratch a scandal, find a Democrat. That's where we are right now. So I want to talk to you a little bit about India Partners, which is a partnership that we have with a group called India Partners here at Urban Family Talk and American Family Radio. And you can go to urbanfamilytalk.com and you can find out more about what we're doing. So it's boys and girls as young as 8 years old being trafficked and sold into the red light areas of Mumbai, India. Many of the young girls become mothers. India Partners operates safe houses away from the red light districts of Mumbai where the children are trafficked, and the children of the trafficked women can escape the brothel areas and be relocated. So there's a banner on AFR's website page, afr.net, and you can also donate. So you can go to urbanfamilytalk.com and donate to India Partners. $7.08 provides 1 day of safety, rescue, and care for a child escaping the red light areas of Mumbai. A day in the safe house includes full room and board and full-time Christian school, private tutoring, medical attention, counseling, and sharing the love of Jesus. You can also give other amounts, $50, $100, $212, $640, $25.60, which provides a year of safety, rescue, and care. And I know there's some ballers out in our audience who can totally afford that. So you can have your credit card ready and call 877-616-2396 or give it online at afr.net and urbanfamilytalk.com. And we'd really appreciate you joining us in this partnership, saving the lives of these children and the women, and saving them from a life of sex abuse is paramount, and it's a fantastic work that they're doing over in India. So it's 877-616-2396 or afr.net or urbanfamilytalk.com, any of those places to give and support this wonderful ministry. So when we get back, we're going to have our next guest on the program. It's Angela Morabito, Senior Campaign Organizer for StandUnited.org. They have a thing they're running, which I've already signed up for. It's a petition that we're going to not pay Congress when the government shut down. Isn't that a great idea? I think so. So we'll talk about that and more when we get back. Stay right there. Just a couple of messages.
lost. If you're trying to fill the same old holes inside, there's a better life. There's a better life. If you got pain, he's a pain taker.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. StacyOnTheRight.com. Hit the subscribe button over there. We'd love to have you on our email list where you get the weekly newsletter only once a week. How about that? All right. So it's our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program, Angela Morabito, Senior Campaign Organizer at StandUnited.org. Hey, Angela, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Stacy.
Yeah, so let's talk about your latest petition about suspending the pay of our Congress critters during the government shutdowns.
Okay. Well, when the government shuts down, members of Congress continue to collect their regular paychecks. There's no interruption in their pay. But for members of the military, they don't get paid for however long the shutdown lasts. And of course, they're still expected to show up and do the crucially important work. So this petition says that when the government shuts down, Congress shouldn't get paid unless the military does too.
Okay, so what's the likelihood of this actually happening?
Well, it has happened before, back in 2013, just prior to that very extended shutdown. Congress passed a last-minute bill that said, we're going to shut down the government, but it included provisions for the military to get paid. Now, just last time, just a couple of weeks ago, for that brief shutdown, there was no such provision. And even though they've averted a shutdown that would start tomorrow at midnight, that's contingent upon raising the debt ceiling. And they would have to raise the debt ceiling possibly by tomorrow night, but more likely they would have to get it done when we just run out of money in the middle of March and cannot continue to borrow anymore. So even though we might not have a shutdown tomorrow, we're probably going to face one in another couple weeks.
Okay. So I guess the big deal for me is that, first of all, we shouldn't have government shutdowns because we should be passing a budget that lasts until 2 years, let's say, and then we come back in at the end of that 2 years and we say, now we're going to shift our priorities or renew our priorities and pass another budget, and the shutdown should never be the issue.
Right, but unfortunately the shutdowns do happen, and they're going to continue to happen, potentially as long as Democrats keep pushing for amnesty or a path to citizenship, or so delayed amnesty, for people who are here on the DACA program.
Right, but so I don't see that happening. What they're asking for, the legalization of 11 million people who are here illegally, that would be political suicide for President Trump, and it's against the will of the American people. So they have no chance of getting that.
Exactly, but the Democrats can choose, just like they did a couple weeks ago, to shut down the government over that issue.
Sure. So what else is it that you're hoping to get done with the petition? I signed it, obviously. You're wanting people to go to the website and sign the petition, and then what else?
Exactly. So the petition is available at StandUnited.org. You'll see it right there on our homepage, along with a bunch of other really interesting issues that people come to us with from all across the country. There's a petition to rename a park after Nancy Reagan, and it's the park right next to Ronald Reagan Airport, here right between D.C. and Virginia. There are petitions in all sorts of, states across the country that have to do with upcoming midterm elections, that have to do with local zoning laws. We even had petitions about Star Wars. So any issue you can think of, nothing is too big or too small. And we would certainly encourage your listeners today to go start a petition.
Perfect. Well, I think it's fantastic the idea that we need to get rid of this idea that they can get paid while the government's shut down. I wholeheartedly support it. That's why I signed the petition, and everyone can look at my Twitter feed for the link to Stand United, go directly to that petition, and then you can play around on there a little bit and possibly sign some of the others. Thank you so much for coming on today, Angela.
Thank you, Stacy.
All right, talk again soon. So we're just moving along here. I also want to mention, this is hard for me. I actually put this on the show sheet. If you are in the listening audience and you are near the Memphis area, we do have an affiliate there. Urban Family Communications and the American Family Association are sponsoring an event. It's a Festival for Life. It's Wednesday and Thursday, February 7th and 8th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. New Generation Ministries Evangelical Church at 2041 South Lauderdale Street in Memphis, Tennessee. The host pastor is Dr. Russell Morrow. And they're going to be hosting a multimedia ministry event that uses movie clips, music videos, and movie trailers to help share a biblical message about the need for the church to aggressively come alongside and support the ministry of local pregnancy resource centers. It also shares about the need for the church to aggressively stand for life. You guys know this is a huge issue for the Stacy on the Right show, and for me personally, I really support these types of efforts. And if you missed that, if I went a little bit too fast for you, never fear. Go to Stacy on the Right show on Facebook. I posted the image of the flyer right there for you to look at. So it's there. You can access it at any time, especially those of you who are listening on our American Family re-air from midnight to 2 a.m. on all of those stations. If you're wondering, how do I get more information about that? Just go to the Stacy on the Right show page, scroll down just a couple. I posted it earlier today, and you can get all the information and attend this wonderful event. So that'll be wonderful for you. Kind of meet other people of the same mind as well. Great for networking and kind of connecting up, especially in an election year where this is going to be a signature issue for us. So I want to get back to the Lisa Page, Peter Strzok text messages. Yeah, I'm going back there because it's a real story and everyone should be covering it. Not so much because you believe one way or the other, but because it's information that we need to know. So we're back to the FBI lawyer, Lisa Page. She texted her lover in late 2016 that then President Barack Obama wanted updates on the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Now, of course he did. He wanted to know if they were following instructions, not getting anywhere. So he wanted an update. So 2 months before the presidential election, Lisa Page wrote to fellow FBI official Peter Strzok that she was working on a memo for then FBI Director James Comey because Obama wants to know everything we're doing. Obama had said 5 months earlier during a Fox News Channel interview that he could guarantee he wouldn't interfere with the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. Sure he did. So he says, I do not talk. This is on Fox News Channel. I do not talk to the Attorney General about pending investigations. I do not talk to FBI directors about pending investigations. We have a strict line. That's President Barack Obama at the time on April 10th of 2016. He went on. He said, I guarantee it. I guarantee that there is no political influence in any investigation conducted by the Justice Department or the FBI, and not just in this case, but in any case, full stop, period. So at this point, we know this man was lying, right to the whoever the interviewer was on Fox. So, of course, you know, today, President Trump just texted new FBI texts are bombshells. They are. They absolutely are. And the president should be texting the images of these stories out there to his Twitter feed because the news isn't covering it. So this one text is among 50,000 that the pair sent during their 2-year extramarital affair. The first thing I wonder when I hear that is, have I sent 50,000 texts in my lifetime to all the people I know? Not even to just one person. Now, I'm not having an extramarital affair, so maybe you text more often when you're doing something illicit. But I think I text my husband every day. 50,000? I guess the only way to find out is for me to contact our mobile carrier and ask for the total number. You know, you can get your archived texts that way too, which should scare the pants off anybody who's ever sent text messages to someone. Threatening text messages, mean text messages, gossipy text messages. You should be scared right there because anybody can request their text message archive from their carrier and get copies of everything that was sent, and it shows what you sent. Okay? That's why you should govern yourself accordingly. So, now Comey, who testified to Congress in June of 2017, said, as FBI director, I interacted with President Obama. I only spoke to him twice in 3 years and didn't document it. Mr. Memo himself went to speak to President Obama, and he says it was only twice in 3 years. I don't believe that. I mean, if people are going to lie, that's going to be one thing they're lying about. Don't you think? So he didn't address possible memos or other written reports he may have sent to the Obama White House, but Comey did document his 2017 meetings with Donald Trump. Of course he did, because he was trying to create a file that would enable a special prosecutor, and that worked. He was also trying to create a file that would possibly incriminate the president. That didn't work. So you've got Comey, who honestly, how is he not also being investigated? So he, you guys remember the timeline. He announced that he had, cleared Hillary Clinton. And then in October, he sent a letter to Congress that the FBI was reviewing new emails. And that, according to them, threw the presidential election into chaos. It didn't for me. And then afterwards, after the president's elected, you've got these text messages between Page and Strzok, which surface. And in August of 2016, the text messages show that Strzok wrote to Page that he wanted to believe that there was no way that Donald Trump could get elected. But I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before you're 40. So it is unclear to us what that insurance policy was. But we know that the Justice Department was at the time debating an approach to a federal court for a surveillance warrant against Trump advisor Carter Page. Now, we went over this yesterday on the show. And I find it interesting that everyone refers to Carter Page as Trump advisor, which is a very nebulous kind of general term for someone who was a volunteer. They don't say volunteer on the Trump campaign. They say Trump advisor. Now, this man, how much time did he really have to advise President Trump when he's coming off of a sting that it took him almost 3 years to execute as an FBI employee working undercover to ensnare actual Russian spies? But he had time to advise then candidate Trump. Okay, anyway. So then you've got this text message from October 20th of 2016, which says, in which Strzok calls the presidential nominee an expletive idiot. Then on election day, Page wrote to him, Lisa Page wrote to Peter Strzok, OMG, this is expletive terrifying. 5 days later, Lisa Page texts Strzok again, I bought all the president's men. Figure I need to brush up on Watergate. Anyway, can you hear the black van screaming and all of the guys in the locker room strapping on their FBI emblazoned vests? Yeah, that's how she saw herself in that moment. She's got an AR-15 strapped to her back. She's got a P90 on her front. She's got all kinds of little pockets full of extra magazines loaded to the hilt, extended magazines. She's got body armor on, also some really cool cherry red lipstick and coordinating fingernails, and, the nice thick-soled black combat boots that they wear into raids. And she doesn't have her helmet on because she's got to make sure people can see her hair. She's looking cool. And she's like, I bought all the president's men. Really? Sounds to me like all she bought herself was a whole lot of trouble for herself personally by having an extramarital affair. They sure did text a good game, but what exactly did they accomplish? They've only incriminated themselves and made themselves really look foolish, like laughingstocks. So that's all over at thedailymail.com. So the Daily Mail has all the gossip stuff, like who was looking peachy stepping out of this place or that. They have a little piece over here about Ivanka Trump's latest outfit, which I always love those, to be quite honest with you, because when's the last time we saw people this fashionable all the time? Like, most people have a day or two where they look bad. Every so often they just can't get it all together. These people always look good. It's amazing. So you've got the President Obama, that is, who has now, he's on the record as saying he didn't have anything to do with it, but turns out he really did. And there's a real sadness, in my opinion, at least for some of us, surrounding this story about the football player who was killed. And so what are you going to do? And then on some things that have to do with kind of the media, not the media, but the entertainment side. I don't know if you've seen this over at The Wrap. I read it this morning. And so, I've already disclosed that we go to the movies a ton and we like watching the Avengers films, the comic book stuff. 2 of our kids really love comic books. And so you've got this Marvel's Excellent African Adventure Black Panther film review over on The Wrap. It's written by Alonzo Duralde. He's The Wrap's lead movie critic. Now, it's too long for me to go over here, but I recommend if you're interested in watching the film that you just tip on over to thewrap.com and read this review because it gives you a little bit to look forward to. Apparently, it's well done. So what I was expecting is some virtue signaling, social justice warrior, marshmallow puff piece with a lot of problems. And apparently it was done well. And if you're into the Marvel universe, you know that it's all about the collection of the stones, the Infinity Stones. And so this movie advances that and gives you more information about those because all of it kind of culminates in this clash, which apparently is the next movie that's coming out, where all of the Avengers join together to fight their ultimate enemy over these stones. So, yeah, I kind of read this whole thing. It's lengthy too, but it was good. So check it out. In fact, I'll just throw it up on the Stacy on the Right Show page on Facebook, and you can read it there. So when we get back, we're going to have Demetrius Minor of Generation Opportunity and more for you. Stay right there.
We are the colors outside of the lines, and we paint a picture so one of a kind. Attention, we call attention. Our mission, redirect attention. So let's break the mold, go off the wall, be in the world, but not of it.
Oh, yeah. We're back. Welcome back to the show. It's good to be with you on Hump Day. Just getting it done, if you know what I mean. Just working our way towards the weekend. But we're working our way towards the weekend with joy because we love doing these things like radio show. So now we're going to have our next guest. Let's see who it is. Who's coming on? Oh, yeah. It's Demetrius Minor, Coalitions Director for Generation Opportunity, Florida. Demetrius, welcome to the show.
Hey, Stacy, how are you?
Don't try to act reticent about speaking with me. You're on the Stacy on the Right show again. You know you're loving it. And also, how about the Trump Hotel International DC, where we had dinner with two of your ritzy friends? That was fun.
It was definitely very fun, very enjoyable. What a unique experience. Some of the best food I've ever had. And the hotel, which from my understanding was Ivanka Trump's masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Nicely done, and just all around an enjoyable experience.
It was. I have to say, so first of all, we were afraid that we were going to break open the space-time continuum and that time was going to split into many different pieces, or we were going to be ejected into an alternate universe, because I saw Demetrius 2 times within a 12-month period. So we were worried about that. But we were also concerned because, first of all, Demetrius's steak, he had a cowboy steak. It was as big as his head.
I did.
It was maybe even bigger than his head. It was an amazing meal that we had at that restaurant. The place was gorgeous. And I've been to a lot of gorgeous places. I've eaten at fine restaurants before, but this was probably, I think it's either the most or close to the second to the most expensive place I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah, definitely top of the line there. The service and everything was just first class.
Oh, my gosh.
And, again, it was very enjoyable. Glad I had an opportunity to participate in it. Glad that you were able to come along. And who knows what else the future holds.
I know, right? They're like, what other fancy thing can we do to top that? That's how we have to view this. We have to be like, so we got to do something else fancy to top that. So, okay, great to catch up on all of that stuff. But let's dig into this free speech issue in the state of Florida. I was fascinated when you sent over a note saying, hey, we've got this thing we're trying to do. And so tell the listeners what's going on and what Generation Opportunity is trying to get done here.
Sure, absolutely. Well, currently, one of the big dilemmas here in the state of Florida is free speech zones that have been enacted upon campuses and universities statewide. For example, Florida State University, which is located in Tallahassee, just a mile away from the Capitol, essentially, they have what's called a free speech zone. And Stacy is this very tiny corner that's not visible to the main campus, where you can stand and vocalize whatever issue or whatever cause you're passionate about. And it just does not align with our First Amendment and our constitutional rights. So currently in the Florida House, you have a House Bill 909, which is called the Campus Free Expression Act, and it will eliminate these free speech zones. Now, I do want to point out that this is dealing mostly with the outdoor campus. So this doesn't have anything to do with inside. I bring that up because when you talk about free speech, the opponents of free speech, which are those who are usually on the left, they love to invoke the Richard Spencer case, which has nothing to do with this bill. Richard Spencer rented a room inside of a building. So that has nothing to do with our efforts here. Okay. So the House bill is House Bill 909. The Senate bill is 1234. And we're trying our best to get this passed to eliminate free speech zones on campuses so that students can articulate and utilize their First Amendment rights.
Mm. Okay, so I'm excited to hear how this plays out. And for those who are not aware of what Generation Opportunity is, can you tell us what it is and what you're doing with them and why the work is so important? Because it's kind of geared towards millennials, correct?
Absolutely. Well, yes. It's geared towards youth in the state of Florida. We are a component of AFP, which is Americans for Prosperity. And so we deal solely with issues that will impact young people. And so right now, free speech is so important and so essential because when students come to colleges and universities, they come to not just learn about ideas, philosophies, and beliefs, but they come also to articulate their support or their opposition to whatever's being taught, whatever's being presented, and also the exchange of ideas will help solidify their educational experiences.
Yeah. So what will you be doing exactly? Like what's your role there at GenOp?
Well, I am a registered lobbyist with the Florida legislature, and again, my main priority right now, my title is coalition director, so trying to obviously build coalitions to help further spread our cause and our agenda to youth across the state of Florida. And right now, our main concern is this bill, the Campus Free Expression Act. And just to give your listeners an update, especially those who may be tuning in from Florida, on the Senate side, it just passed the Senate Education Committee, which was a tumultuous task within itself. And now there should be a hearing set for the Senate Judiciary Committee. And then hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, it'll be presented for the whole body for a vote. But as you can imagine, there are people behind the scenes who do not understand the essence of free speech and how it benefits everyone. This is not about Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives. This is about American citizens. There are people who are trying to kill this bill, who are trying to suppress our efforts here. So it's important that if you have listeners in Florida, give your state representative a call, give your state senator a call, tell them to vote yes on the Senate bill and to vote yes on the House bill for campus free speech.
Well, we absolutely do have reach into Florida through American Family Radio, and I would encourage people to use the website. It's callmycongress.com. Type in your zip code. It'll give you your congresspeople's actual phone numbers right there on your screen, and you can call them from right there, or you can click the link to send them an email. The calls are really great because a person has to log those in and they review those because the calls take a little more effort. So I want to thank you for the work that you're doing with this great new organization. And also good luck with everything. You're back in Florida now? You're back from your training in D.C.?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I spent a couple of days here in Tallahassee at the Florida Capitol, and now I'm en route to Orlando for some meetings. So I'm staying busy.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and explain this issue to us. And hopefully people will join in and make some phone calls so we can get the free speech zones eliminated and people can just speak freely wherever they might happen to be.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey, Stacy, thanks so much for having me on.
You're welcome. Thanks, Demetrius. That's Demetrius Minor, Coalition's Director for Generation Opportunity, the Florida Division. And I'm really glad that we had a chance to chat about that. So I want to get to this survey. And one of the things I used to do on my old show that was just once a week was we used to do something called the poll report. And I love doing that because it's the kind of stuff so polls that suit a narrative get covered a lot. But if a poll shows that Americans don't follow along with the Democratic orthodoxy, then those polls don't really get covered. And that's why I had the poll report. So this one is really interesting. It's the San Francisco Chronicle reporting, Jesse J. Holland of the Associated Press. So they picked this up from the AP Wire. The survey was on the respect of law enforcement. And they found that most residents in struggling U.S. areas actually respect the police. So let's dig into this just a little bit. A majority of Americans living in struggling communities say they have respect for and confidence in the police who patrol their neighborhoods, according to a survey which was released on Sunday. More than 7 in 10 Americans who live in these communities said they have some or a lot of confidence in police who patrol their neighborhoods, according to the State of Opportunity in America survey. The numbers go up even higher when asked about respect for the police. 86% of people in struggling neighborhoods said they had some or a lot of respect for their local police. And the survey looks at relationship between police and fragile communities, described as locations with high proportions of people struggling in their daily lives who also have limited opportunities for social mobility, so socioeconomically disadvantaged areas. The same neighborhoods used to be called disadvantaged and at risk, and this is according to Gerard Robinson, executive director for the Center for Advancing Opportunity. The term fragile is a better descriptor in his eyes. You're not so much talking about a person or a people, but a situation. Now, I tend to agree with that. Often we look at, so it really depends on where you're born, which set of parents you're born to, or which individual parent you're born to. You can take a child who's born into affluence and a good educational background and a great stable family, take that child and place them in a socioeconomically disadvantaged situation, and that child will grow up with similar problems to other children in that same situation. You can take a child who's born into a socioeconomically disadvantaged environment and a family of wealth and means and a good moral kind of situation, can adopt that child, and they will grow up as if they were born into that situation. So it's the situations that are really, really difficult that people find themselves in and they have to work their way out of. So the survey was conducted from May to August of 2017. It was mailed to 28,000 people, so that's an excellent sample size. The people that received the survey were in urban and rural areas of the United States, and the 28,000 mailed surveys yielded 6,000 completed surveys, so still an excellent sample size. There were racial and ethnic differences on the police question for residents in these struggling communities. Almost 2 in 5 Black residents in fragile neighborhoods, or 39%, said they had little to no confidence in police, which is higher than the 26% of Hispanic residents and 21% of white residents who said the same. The same differences can be seen for respect for the police, where 19% of Blacks said they had little or no respect, compared with 11% of whites and 9% of Hispanics. Despite the respect and confidence for police, vast majorities of residents of struggling communities say they would rather see money spent on social and economic problems that lead to crime rather than spending more money on law enforcement. And so that's a difficult balance to strike, especially in fragile communities. Most people say just throw all the money at law enforcement because you want safety. But by the time a person is interacting negatively with law enforcement, the opportunities to save their life and adjust the trajectory of where they're going, those have all passed by. So you have to catch kids while they're still in school and encourage them to stay there. You have to catch kids before they fall so far behind educationally that they feel like coming to class every day is useless. They can't understand what's going on. They might as well just listen to the guy on the corner who says he'll pay them $40 a day to run these little packages here or there. It's really that's where the rubber meets the road. The grade school to prison pipeline that exists in fragile communities is centered largely around the fact that children can't do their schoolwork and that they don't have proper supervision in their home, and that there are negative influences in the community that are not being taken care of. These people aren't being arrested. They're not being incarcerated. They're not being removed from these environments, and they're negatively influencing these kids. They're saying, "What are you studying? What do you want to be white? Why are you talking like that? Are you trying to sound white? You don't like yourself? You hate us? You hate this community? You hate the people you live with? Stop acting like that." And kids, especially the little smart ones, they understand that there's some danger there, and these kids need to be rescued. That's where the intervention has to be. So I tend to favor more of the not just programming, because community centers are just replacements for dads. If your kid doesn't have a dad to throw a ball with them or to sit at the table with them and go over their homework, or someone, their uncle, their granddad, their mom, a full intact family structure that's more than just 2 people. It's a community who are looking after them, then they are more susceptible to that horrible person on the corner that wants them to work for $40 a day. So it doesn't surprise me at all that people in disadvantaged communities respect the police. Why wouldn't they? They know what happens when you dial 911. Help comes. All right, that's the show for today. We have more for you tomorrow, so be back here. Until then, God bless and have a great night.